Are you thinking about making a move to the Franklin area? Maybe you're just starting your research and you want to know all there is to know, get a big basic overview of what Franklin looks like, or maybe you're really starting to do more in-depth research and you're really looking to make that move. Whether you're in the first camp or the second, stay tuned because in today's video, I am going to be covering everything you need to know about Franklin, from its location to property taxes, cost of living, the weather, what to know about schools, and whether things will be required or not. So stay tuned for all of that and more in today's video. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin Martin and I am a local Nashville real estate agent and founder of the Caitlin Martin team, powered by Weichert Realtors, the Andrews Group. I specialize in working with savvy sellers who want to sell right and sell smart, as well as working with out-of-staters looking to relocate to the Middle Tennessee area. Now, if this is your first time stopping by my channel, thank you so much. Please feel free to click subscribe down below so that you are notified anytime I release new video content. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over 20 things to know about the Franklin area. And this is meant to serve as kind of one of those big general what you need to know, especially if you're considering making that move, because I know that when it comes to making a big cross-country move, you're trying to get all the information you can to even figure out if this could potentially be the right area for you. So I'm going to be going over 20 things that you need to know. So let's go ahead and dive on in. All right. Number one is going to be, where in the world is Franklin located? So Franklin is going to be in Middle Tennessee. Now, most people know the Middle Tennessee area. They know of Nashville. So let's actually go take a look at a map and see where Franklin is in relation to Nashville. Okay, so let's give you an idea of just where on a map Franklin is located. So as you can see here with the red marker, that is Nashville. That marker is situated right in downtown Nashville. And as you can see further down on the screen in the bottom corner is Franklin. So it is going to be located south. It's about 30 minutes south of downtown Nashville. And then as you can see with the red outline, the majority of Franklin is going to be on the west side of 65. However, there is still neighborhoods in Franklin that's going to fall on the east side of 65. But hopefully that gives you an orientation. And then if we do scroll up just a little bit, again, you can see Nashville. Then you see Brentwood, which is a town that you can hear a lot about. And then of course there's Franklin. And if you look over a little bit, you will see Nolensville, again, another popular town when we're talking about the Franklin-Williamson County area. Okay, so now that you have an idea of where it's located, let's talk about the county that Franklin resides in. So Franklin is going to be inside of Williamson County. So as you saw on the map, you do have Nashville, and then further south, you're gonna find Franklin. Nashville and the downtown Nashville area, all of that falls within inside Davidson County, and then Davidson County changes over to Williamson County right around the Brentwood area. So as you go down, you're gonna see Nashville, then it runs into Brentwood, and then it runs into Franklin. So Williamson County, that is where Franklin's going to be located. If you've done any other research on the Middle Tennessee area, Williamson County also is home to towns like Brentwood. Like I said, Franklin, you've got Nolensville, Thompson Station, Arrington, part of Spring Hill. If you've done any research on Spring Hill, you will learn that Spring Hill actually splits Williamson and Maury County, and you can notice a difference in property values between the two counties. And then also Fairview. So those are the main towns that are gonna make up Williamson County. Williamson County consists of about 250,000 people total. Now, it is one of the wealthiest counties in the US, and that is determined based on the average income of those who do live in Williamson County. So keep that in mind. Now, that doesn't mean that houses are all at $1 million plus. That's not what that means, but it is considered to be one of the wealthier counties in the US. Williamson County in general tends to have a big draw for people because of certain characteristics. So it does tend to have higher rated school scores. If you go to greatschools.org and you start researching the public schools, you can find that their school scores tend to trend higher than some of the other counties. Now, that doesn't mean that other counties in the Middle Tennessee area do not have great school scores as well. It's just, if you look, Williamson County predominantly has higher rated school scores, which can be an appealing factor for many people. And then statistically, you also have lower crime rates, and then you pair that with low unemployment. A lot of these factors then start to factor into why Williamson County is considered to be attractive to a lot of people. That plus the location to Nashville, you are within, about a 30-minute drive. It can be a little bit further if you go further down in Williamson County, but you do still have close proximity to get into Nashville, enjoy all that Nashville has to offer, but then you get to go back home to the Franklin area and get more of that suburban or rural life that you may be looking for. Now, like I mentioned before, the school scores. So not only are there public schools, but there's also several private schools within Williamson County within Franklin. And here's something that I know that a lot of people are interested in and questions that I have gotten. So if you are coming from a state where there are a lot of different restrictions or mandates, here in Tennessee, actually back in 2021, the governor of Tennessee, he actually passed legislation back in 2021, rolling back a lot of things that had been put in place for, 2020 and beyond. He actually rolled back a lot of policies and procedures that were put in place that were more restrictive. So that legislation that he put in place, it actually bans government entities, public schools, and private businesses from putting certain requirements in place. So what that means is, I know that in the fall of 2022 that there were certain things on a national scale from a government agency that was put out there that said that certain things would be required for children going to school. However, because of the legislation in Tennessee, that is actually not going to be a requirement in order to go to public or private school here in the state of Tennessee. Again, that legislation protects children from having that kind of requirement placed on them in order to go to school. Now, I know we've talked about Williamson County. Let's actually bring it down into Franklin. So Franklin, it is a town inside of Williamson County, like I talked about. Franklin is actually a town of around 83,000. Franklin is really known for its cute historical downtown area. So it does have a downtown strip. It's actually been named one of 5 great American Main Street districts in the US. So it's really going to carry that historical charm in terms of the building architecture. It's really, really charming. They have a lot of festivals down there, which I will talk about a little later in this video. But Franklin, just because of that downtown area, that is a really big draw for people. So that's part of the appeal of living in the Franklin area. A few other fun facts for you about Franklin. It is the 7th largest city in Tennessee, and it was actually named after Benjamin Franklin. Franklin is home to several, remember I said that Williamson County, Franklin in general, has low unemployment. Franklin is actually home to Nissan North America. It's home to several healthcare companies, also Ramsey Solution, Dave Ramsey's company. There are a lot of businesses that have relocated their headquarters in the Franklin area. So that is just something to keep in mind. And again, the low unemployment, those businesses, they bring the jobs, which then again leads to Williamson County being named one of the wealthiest counties in the US. So now let's talk about proximity to the airport, because I know that a lot of people that I talk to, they're often needing to know the distance to the airport to keep in mind. Maybe they're traveling for work or even just traveling for pleasure. So where is the airport in location to downtown Franklin or just the Franklin area in general? But let's take a look at this map and where the airport is in relationship to Franklin. So as you can see from downtown Nashville, the airport is actually going to be located east on Interstate 40. It's actually exit 216 off of Interstate 40 East. Now, where is that in relationship to Franklin? So it's generally going to take you anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes on average to get to the airport from the Franklin area. Of course, traffic can dictate those times as well. But in general, that's what you're looking at. Now, if you are on the far west side of Franklin, it's just plan for it to be around that 45-minute mark, just because on the west side of Franklin, you are going to be further from the interstate, and you typically have to get over to 65 to get up to 40 into the airport. Again, definitely manageable. I know that a lot of people that I talk to, sometimes they've got an hour plus or hour and a half commute to their nearest city airport. So something to keep in mind, but that is, again, where the airport is going to be located in relationship to Franklin. Okay, so now let's talk about the cost of living. So according to salary.com, the average cost of living in Franklin is actually 5.2% below the national average, but that's actually up 1.3% from last year, with the biggest increases in terms of cost of living. The biggest increases that we saw were in food, transportation, and housing. Now, if we talk about housing, we actually have to talk about housing prices. So in Franklin, pre-pandemic, if you actually go back and look at January 2020, the median home sale price in Franklin was $548,000. Now, if this is your first introduction to the Franklin market, I will just give you a really quick, brief overview in terms of our housing market. So we have been in a seller's market with these strong ebbs and flows kind of coming and going in terms of just how much of a seller's market it's been. We've been in that for predominantly about the better part of the last decade. And then 2020 rolled around, and then our market was still strong as we moved into 2020. And then of course, March of 2020 happened. We saw our real estate market really slam the brakes for about 6 weeks. And then May came along and we just started trucking on this upward trajectory where we were seeing month over month, all of this strength. We actually didn't see the typical, end of year dip that we normally see. We just sailed right on through it. And we saw a really strong January and February of 2021. And then in March, it exploded. We went from getting a house for maybe 10, 15,000 over in February of 2021. And then come middle of March, homes were going 50, 75, 100 grand over asking. We saw a lot of relo coming in. They're wanting the areas of like, say, Franklin and Brentwood, Thompson Station, Spring Hill, all of those areas, a lot of Williamson County, really. And so that caused our home prices to go dramatically up. We saw critically low inventory, but an insanely high demand, which again, shot our prices up through the roof. Now, our market has, since about April of 2022, we've started to see the brakes hit. Of course, there's a lot of things that are going into that. We still have a strong demand coming in, but we do have more inventory on the market, which is great. But it's caused us to start to see far more conservative pricing on houses. So now, as of November of 2022, if we're looking at the median home sale price in Franklin, right now it's sitting at $875,000. Now that's for a single family home. But in the peak of everything, we were really seeing the Franklin average price point sit right around $1 million. So we've watched pricing starting to become a little bit more conservative. Our market's reabsorbing that excess that we're seeing. But again, we have seen home prices, the median and the average home sale price in the Franklin area really shoot up over the last couple of years. Now, we can't talk about housing without talking about property taxes. So let's discuss property taxes, because this is another topic that I talk about a lot. So in other states, sometimes it's really easy to calculate property taxes. Here, there's a bit of a complicated formula in terms of how to figure out property taxes. Now, if you want me to walk you through that calculation, I actually did a video. Go click right here. I walk you through the entire formula just so that you can get an idea of how to calculate property taxes, but they are some of the lowest in the country. I believe the last time I checked, I think we had either the 11th or the 13th lowest property tax in the country. And I am speaking specifically about Williamson County, because in Davidson County, which as you may remember, that's right around the heart of downtown Nashville, they actually saw a 34% property tax hike in 2020 as a response to the tornado that Nashville dealt with in 2020. Plus, of course, what happened just a few weeks later in March when the world just started shutting down and going crazy. So they had a higher property tax hike. Now, even when you look at that 34% in Davidson County, it's still, if you look at what the new property tax rate is there, it's still well below national average. It's still considered low. But if you compare Davidson to Williamson, obviously Williamson's going to be lower. Now, a couple of things to know about Williamson County. You may, depending on where you would live, within Williamson County, there's always the Williamson County tax, but then there can also be a Franklin City tax. And also within Franklin, there is a section called the Special School District, and it's this, again, special school district that is funded through taxes. So if you live within an area that's zoned for the Special Franklin School District, there will be an additional tax that gets calculated into your property tax. But that is certainly not every home in the Franklin area. It's just a specific area. So when you're calculating property taxes, you have to look at the city and the county tax, and that'll give it to you. Now, again, it's definitely lower. So at a home that's around $1 million, you're looking somewhere between $5,000 to $5,500, generally speaking, in terms of property taxes. So Kiplinger.com actually says that our property taxes tend to average out to be about $685 per 100,000 of assessed value. And the assessed value is always lower than the appraised value. And again, I've got that video. It'll walk you through, and you'll start hearing things like appraised value, assessed value, times this, times that, divided by this. It's all in a separate video if you are really interested in just checking it out and just kind of learning how our property taxes are calculated to begin with. And then if we're gonna talk about property taxes, we've got to talk about state income tax. One reason that Tennessee has become a really popular destination for relocation buyers is the fact that Tennessee has no state income tax, which can save you anywhere between 3 to 10% for every $100,000 that you earn. So for every $100,000 you earn, that can put anywhere between $3,000 to $10,000 back in your pocket. Again, it's another reason why people continue to make the move to the Middle Tennessee area. Now, I know that we just talked a lot of money things and we've briefly discussed housing, but a lot of times people also ask me about the different types of neighborhoods. So what can you find in Franklin? So you can find a variety of different home styles and neighborhood styles. They really kind of run the gamut there. So you can certainly find around the downtown Franklin area, you're gonna, right around downtown, in fact, you're actually going to find some of those really charming, more historic looking homes that are going to be older. Some have been beautifully renovated, but if you're looking for the charm of true downtown, you're going to find that right in the streets that are going to be around downtown Franklin. If you go a little further out, that's where you start to find more of what I would say, quote unquote, traditional neighborhoods, meaning that they're going to be that brick colonial style. They're gonna really be dated in the late 80s, early 90s. Lot size is gonna be around 0.2 to 0.5 acres on average, but you're going to have more of that cohesive look in the neighborhood. That doesn't mean that you feel like you're packed in there, but it definitely shows that you are a part of an established neighborhood. And a lot of times in those homes, you'll find some have been renovated completely, others are partially renovated. And a lot of times those floor plans, just because it was popular at the time it was built, is gonna lend itself to the master bedroom being on the second floor. That's not all cases, but that will be a lot of what you can find. But then again, Franklin, it holds about 83,000 people. There are a lot of housing options to choose from. You are gonna have some of those more established neighborhoods. One thing though that I always tend to hear is people are curious about whether you can get fences. Yes, you can get fences if there are HOAs in the neighborhoods that you're looking in. Traditionally, they're probably just going to dictate the height material and color of the fence. But I feel like we have a decent amount of fences here, but then I have heard it so many times when I'm having conversations. And once people have been here, they're like, where are the fences? We've got them, trust me. And you can have them, especially if you've got like furry family members or you just want added privacy to your backyard. We do have fences, and fences are possible around here. Now, there are other neighborhoods where you can find an older home, maybe a ranch style, or you can still get more of that traditional classical brick home, but that it actually sits on a larger lot. So you can find neighborhoods where typically if you're looking for that larger lot, those neighborhoods are going to be situated more around, say, south of downtown Franklin. So you can find those for sure, where you have more space between you and your neighbor, but you're still in a really nice neighborhood, still a lot of that classic architecture style. Now let's talk about some other things that you should know about the Franklin area. I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the video, but one of the biggest appeals for Franklin is its really charming downtown area. I like to give people the visual if I'm trying to describe it to them, that think of it as basically like a Hallmark movie's small, cute, quaint downtown area. That's kind of what Franklin is. In fact, actually in December of 2021, there was, I'm not sure if it's Hallmark or Lifetime, I'm not sure which channel it belongs on, but they actually were shooting a movie in downtown Franklin with all of the Christmas decorations up. So Franklin, again, it just carries that charm. It just feels like you kind of step back into a little bit of a different time, and that is a really big draw for a lot of people. Then on top of the fact that downtown is really cute, we can't talk about downtown without talking about the festivals that are in Franklin. So actually the downtown Main Street area there in downtown Franklin, they will have several festivals throughout the year. One that they recently had was their Pumpkin Fest. Again, they really go all out, and it's something that's really fun for families and couples and singles to attend alike. So they have Pumpkin Fest at Christmas time. They have Dickens of a Christmas, which is a play on the Charles Dickens Christmas story. Around the 4th of July, they love to put out all of the banner flags on the storefronts. They love to celebrate the 4th of July. Then, this isn't right in downtown Franklin, but always around the end of September each year. For the last 8 years, there has been Pilgrimage Festival, and that is a new kind of reimagined music festival that is specific to Franklin. It was actually dreamt up by a local musician. They were passing by the park at Harlansdale Farm, which is really close to downtown Franklin. And they just thought, like, what a perfect setting for a music festival. And so it's not just a specific genre, it's genres all across the board. They bring in local crafts and artisans and food trucks. They actually really make it a family-friendly music festival. You can bring your own chairs and blankets. Again, that always tends to take place towards the end of September. So that is something that people look forward to every year. And then, of course, we can't talk about things like festivals without mentioning the Williamson County Fair that always takes place towards the end of summer each year. That is a big to-do. People love getting to go to the Williamson County Fair. So again, that is something, and one of the reasons why people love living in the Franklin area. And then if we're gonna talk about fairs and festivals, this isn't in Franklin, but you're probably well aware. Every year, Nashville has its famous CMA Fest, the Country Music Association Festival, where it is a jam-packed 4-day weekend. It takes place in and around downtown Nashville. It's got the nightly big time shows with the A-list country artists at the Nissan Stadium that's right there across the river in downtown Nashville. Plus, there are dozens of stages set up all around downtown, so it really gives the country music lover an opportunity to see as many of their favorite artists as humanly possible. And again, that's a really big to do in the Nashville area, and that's always one of the first couple of weekends in June. Then, yes, you've got established neighborhoods, but you also have new construction neighborhoods as well. Franklin also has a couple of master planned communities, and if you're unfamiliar with what that is, It means that it is what I kind of call it a self-contained neighborhood, because you're really meant to like not really want to leave the neighborhood very often, because it has its own grocery store, its own shops, restaurants, facilities right there within the neighborhood. They actually end up becoming more like golf cart communities. So one is West Haven, which I've done a video on West Haven, and if you want to learn more about it, click right here. There's also another one called Berry Farms. That's going to be found further south in Franklin, below downtown Franklin. And if you want to learn more about Berry Farms, I have another video on that one. Click right there. So you do have those opportunities, these luxury master planned communities. Now, Berry Farms, it is significantly smaller than West Haven, but again, it gives you options depending on what you're looking for. Then we do have other new construction luxury neighborhoods that are actually being built right now. And then of course you do have some of your newer neighborhoods that are luxury, that you again get a little bit more of a lot size. So the thing about the Franklin area is there's going to be a little bit of something for everybody. Now, if you're looking for lakefront property, that's not going to be in Franklin. If you're looking for beachfront property, we don't have it. We're a landlocked state, but there are opportunities. Now, if you're looking for farm, or if you're looking for true acreage, there's that opportunity too in Franklin. So it really runs the gamut. It just depends on what you're looking for, but chances are Franklin has it. Now, we've talked about the different types of neighborhoods, but that also kind of lends itself to different types of properties. So the most predominant type of property in the Franklin area is going to be single family homes. There are opportunities for some townhomes or for some condos. Those are going to be more few and far between. There's definitely communities like say West Haven that do have townhomes and condos available in them when they are on the market. So there are still opportunities if maybe you're looking for something more low maintenance. Again, Berry Farms has some of those as well. But if you are looking for a single family home, that's traditionally what you're going to find. Everything from that real true classic smaller home or a really cute ranch home in Franklin. And then it goes all the way up to where you can find some really lovely luxury properties. There's also farm properties. So there's a lot of opportunity in Franklin. Again, it just depends on what you're looking for. And then while we're talking about properties, one thing that I continue to get asked is whether homes are on sewer or septic tanks. So again, it's going to just depend. If you are somebody that's sitting on a property with plenty of acreage, you're most likely going to be dealing with a septic tank. If you are in a neighborhood, an established neighborhoods, a lot of times it's going to lend itself to being city sewer. So you can find both types of properties in Franklin. It's really going to depend on whether it has acreage or not as to which way it tends to go. Okay, now another topic that we have to talk about, because I get this question so much, is the weather. So I have done a previous video about the weather in Franklin, and if you want to do a deeper dive, you can go check it out here. But here's going to be a general overview of what you can expect. Here in the Middle Tennessee area, we do have all 4 seasons. Sometimes we have more like 12 seasons because our weather will switch back and forth between seasons within a matter of a couple of days. So what do our seasons look like? So traditionally winter is really going to be that January, February time. Of course, November and December tend to be cooler, but because we're coming through fall into winter in those months, you can still have a lot of really warm days. For example, right now I'm filming this video in the middle of November of 2022. And the last couple of weeks when it's traditionally around the 50s or so during the day, we've actually been right around the 70s, mid 70s. It's been warm. So what can you expect? January, February, expect cold, cloudy, rainy, dreary. To me, those are the worst months. They tend to be our coldest months as well. Our temperatures generally range between, at night, the lows can go as far as like the high teens, low 20s. Now there can be exceptions to that, of course. I feel like this past year, anytime I've talked to people about weather, I say something and then our weather goes wonky and it like does the opposite, and it is what it is. But generally speaking, the lows tend to be around those high teens, lows 20. During the day, anywhere from 30s to 50s, it just depends. And again, January and February, It does feel like there can be string of days where you don't see the sun very much, and it really can wear on you, especially if you deal with seasonal depression. So I always tell people, if you can make it through that though, you're gonna be okay. Do we get snow? Yes, we can get snow, but it's normally more of a dusting. Now, again, 2020's thrown us for a loop because we actually had 4 sizable snows back at the beginning of the year, which was unusual. And we can get ice, and I will tell you, I've been in the Nashville area for almost 10 years now, and in the 10 years that I've been here, we have dealt with ice 2 times. One was 6-7 years ago, and then one was 2 years ago we dealt with ice. So it's not super common, but it can happen. Then around March, thank goodness, we really start to see little peaks of spring coming up. March, April really are transitional. Even into early May can be transitional as we really deal with more of those 50s, 60s typically during the day. And then by the time you get to the end of May, it really starts to get hot, and then the humidity comes in, especially in June. I know earlier in this video I mentioned CMA Fest. Normally by the time CMA Fest is here, it is hot and it is humid. And so June, hot and humid. July, August. I tell people July and August tend to be our worst. If you are somebody that doesn't like humidity, or you're wondering if you can survive it, I would suggest coming during those months to see how you do with our humidity. Again, 2020 was really, really weird because normally it's rare for us to see triple digits. But this year I feel like pretty much from June until August, we were just dealing with almost 100 degrees, or with the heat index and the humidity, it was feeling like 100 plus. Again, that's not super usual. This year's just been really weird, but it can happen. And if you're somebody that you really don't do well with humidity, that is something to consider. Then September rolls around and comes what I consider to be the best time of year, which is fall, because that humidity really recedes. So it allows you to enjoy warmer temperatures without the humidity. The leaves start to change color. You can get some of those like cooler nights where a sweatshirt is perfect. Fall in the mid-state is also really beautiful because the trees change to vibrant colors, which is absolutely beautiful. Plus mix that with our rolling hills, and it is absolutely stunning. And then of course, like I said, we head back towards November and December, where it will start to get cooler for sure. But like I said, we can tend to see strings of days that are in the 60s and 70s still during those months. In fact, the last couple of Christmas days that we've had, the last like 4 or 5 years, right around Christmas Day, we've seen temperatures hit like low 70s to mid 70s. So our seasons kind of do this. There's a meme that you can see on social media about like the 12 seasons that Tennessee can have, because it'll be like cold, 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 and then it'll be warm and it'll feel like spring or summer, and then it goes back to being cold. So we can see a lot of that back and forth. But we do have true 4 seasons. Oh, and I can't stop talking about the weather without talking about flooding and tornadoes. This is again something that people talk to me about a lot. They're really curious about it. We do deal with tornadoes. We actually had a big one hit the Nashville area in March of 2020, and it actually hit right around, just north of downtown Nashville, and then it carried out east. So we do deal with the potential for tornadoes. I like to tell people though, with tornadoes, I have been here, again, almost 10 years, and in that span of time, the one in 2020 was really the worst that we've dealt with. Now, we do have tornado sirens, which if you've never experienced those before, they can be pretty scary. That first time that you experience them, they're the sirens that go off when there is the potential threat of a tornado in the area. So we do deal with it, but I like to tell people we deal with the threat of tornadoes more than the actuality of tornadoes. For people who've been in California or lived in California, I compare it to the possibility of earthquakes. Like, there can be the threat, you're just not sure when it will come to fruition, because we're not always dealing with tornadoes. Sometimes we'll deal with straight line winds, which can still cause damage, but it's not normally nearly as severe as tornado damage. But again, if you're trying to kind of weigh your bets about tornadoes, One thing that I like to tell people is the one that hit us in March of 2020, it was about 23 years before that a very similar tornado in terms of size and strength took almost the exact same path. So we can deal with tornadoes, they do happen, but the ones that are the really big destructive ones are more few and far between. Do we deal with flooding? Yes, we do. We've got a couple of major rivers that run around the Middle Tennessee area. Around downtown Nashville, it's gonna be the Cumberland River. Around the Franklin area, it's gonna be the Harpeth River. We had a historic flood in May of 2010. Since then, FEMA's redrawn their flood maps. So now we're able to analyze and see if properties within the click of a few buttons, we're able to see if they are in a flood zone. It means that the property most likely flooded in 2010. So that can give you an idea. Now, if one home in a neighborhood is in a flood zone, it doesn't mean the entire neighborhood is. A lot of times you'll see where some homes are included in it and some aren't. So again, we have not since 2010 seen a flood as bad as 2010. We have seen some where it gets worse, especially on certain roads when it rains really hard, really fast. We can see some flooding on roadways. Never drive over that. Always try to find a way around, but again, don't go across it because it could be much deeper, and that's how people get in trouble and need rescuing. But we can deal with flooding, but a lot of times it's going to be more or less very temporary flooding versus say a flood that was like the historic flood in 2010. Now, when people are looking to move to the Middle Tennessee area, a lot of times they're starting to wonder, well, where do people vacation? So within the state, there's a lot of places that are a quick 3-4 hour drive away. So if you're living in the mid-state, it's really great because you can get to the major other cities in Tennessee pretty easily. You do have Memphis, which is the birthplace of Elvis. So you can go check out Graceland in Memphis. Then of course you've got Chattanooga, and Chattanooga is a beautiful town, and it actually has an aquarium. It has great places to hike. So Chattanooga is only about 2 hours from Nashville. And then you do have East Tennessee, where you have Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Sevierville. And just a little knowledge about that, because a lot of times people kind of lump it all into one. So if you're looking at a map of East Tennessee, when you see Interstate 40, the first town you reach once you get off of Interstate 40 is Sevierville, then Pigeon Forge, then you get into Gatlinburg. And Gatlinburg's around 30-35 minutes off of the interstate into the Great Smoky Mountains. Again, 3.5-4 hours from the Nashville area, so it makes it really convenient. And another thing I'll throw in there that's not in the state of Tennessee in terms of vacation is going to be, where do people go to the beach? Because again, we are a landlocked state. A lot of people end up going to the Destin, Pensacola, 30A, Panama City. Basically, the Florida Panhandle is where pretty much everybody goes. You will start seeing seaside sweatshirts and bumper stickers and all of that around here. But it's really popular because it's only about a 7-8 hour drive down Interstate 65 through Alabama, or you can jump on a 1 hour flight from Nashville and be down in there, like I said, in an hour. So it's really easy and accessible. So if you've never been to that area, I actually did a video on the 38 area. If you're just curious about what it looks like and learning more, you can click this video up here. And then lastly, a couple of other things just to know about the Franklin area. Now this is more Nashville specific, but one of the reasons why I love the Middle Tennessee area and I chose to move here myself was because there is so much to do. So what do we have? Well, yes, we have music and entertainment, and the best part is it's not just country music specific. We do have several different music venues in Franklin. In particular, there's actually a newer music venue at Greystone Quarry. And so you've got artists of all different genres that come, not only to the Franklin area, but of course you have some of the major A-list stars that come through Bridgestone Arena in downtown Nashville. So we do have a really abundant entertainment life. We've got comedians that come through, like I said, artists of all different genres. Not only do they play the big stages, but we also have singer-songwriter rounds in and around the Nashville area where the songwriters of a lot of the popular songs will go and play, which is something really neat and you don't get to see in every city. So that's something that's really, really fun and neat and unique about our town. So we've got that piece of the entertainment sector. Then we also have professional sports teams here in the Middle Tennessee area. If you're a hockey fan, we've got the Nashville Predators that play at Bridgestone Arena. Then we also have the Nashville Soccer Club, which has a new stadium around the Nashville area. And then of course we have the Tennessee Titans pro football team. And then we even have a small minor league baseball team called the Nashville Sounds. Again, that's going to be located around the downtown area. So if you are a sports fan, there's a lot of opportunity to catch different sports games in and around the Nashville area. Now, if you are somebody that loves the great outdoors, I actually have this conversation pretty often. One of the things that I really love about this area is just the beauty and the nature of it. So we have a lot of parks, walking trails, places to hike in and around the Nashville area or within a close driving proximity. So again, if you're somebody that loves the great outdoors, there's plenty of opportunity here in the mid-state. And then of course, one last thing to talk about when talking about the Franklin area is going to be shopping. So where are amenities like grocery stores and malls and everyday things, pharmacies, banks, all of that. So one thing that I've said in previous videos, Franklin and the Middle Tennessee area in general is really, really good about being strategic in their placement of where shopping centers are. So in Franklin, one of the main areas in Franklin where you can find pretty much anything you need is going to be the Cool Springs area. So this is fairly centrally located in the Franklin area. So this is going to have everything from your traditional shopping mall to you're going to be able to find the different grocery stores. Now, I know that grocery stores can be really important for some people. So there is both a Whole Foods and a Trader Joe's in the Franklin area. They're not, one is closer to Cool Springs. Trader Joe's is right in that Cool Springs area. Whole Foods is going to be a little bit further south, but you do have both of those located in the Franklin area and the general Cool Springs area. But again, this, if you live further south in Franklin, it will be maybe more like 15, 20 minutes to get to. But other neighborhoods in Franklin, just depending on where you live, it can be as close as say 5 minutes away from you. So this is where you're going to find everything. Like I said, your shopping mall, your grocery stores, your little boutiques, your banks, your pharmacies, your Home Depots, your Lowe's, all of those different types of stores that you need for any and everything in your everyday life. It's going to be located in the Cool Springs area. Now, if you are further south in Franklin, if you are, say, in the Berry Farms area, which I know I mentioned as one of those more master planned communities, again, you're going to have some of those amenities. It's not going to be as extensive as the Cool Springs area, but again, you're still not that far away, even in the Berry Farms area, from getting to Cool Springs. It's just, if you're somebody that thinks about close proximities to grocery stores like I am, then that is something to keep in mind. But again, they've done a really nice job. Now, if you're in Brentwood, you have your own shopping center right there. I've actually done a deeper dive and looking at the different shopping areas in the Brentwood, Franklin area. And if you want to take a look at that, you can. The video, I'm going to link it up here for you to take a look. But again, you're never really that far away, which is a really nice, convenient thing, because me personally, I'm somebody that I love convenience for things like that. So if you're wondering about shopping, the Cool Springs area is where you're going to find it in the Franklin area. And then lastly, people a lot of times ask me, what do I love most about the Nashville area? And there's a lot to love, from things to do, to the beauty of the area, to the friendliness of the people. And this answer is probably going to sound cheesy for some people, but it is the truth. I have experienced it. So you may or may not know this, but Tennessee is called the volunteer state. And so the reason is because back in the War of 1812, a lot of Tennesseans volunteered to go fight in the war. And so that's where we got our name. However, I can tell you, at least in the mid-state, we still really have that volunteer spirit, because one of the things that I love the most about this Nashville community is the fact that we show up for one another and show out, especially in hard times. So for instance, when the tornado back in March of 2020 hit, the amount of people who came out to try to help their neighbors clean up and just really try to help in times of tragedy was incredible. The same thing happened back in May of 2010 when the historic flood happened. There's just something about our community that comes together and it helps people, whether it's a big tragedy or little tragedy, just basically in times of need. And so we are really good in this state, or at least in the mid-state, of really showing up and being there for our neighbors. And so that's truly one of, I mean, it got to the point when cleaning up in the tornado that they actually had to turn people away and tell them to go home because that many people was actually becoming a hindrance to the cleanup and rescue efforts, because so many people just showed up. So I know it sounds bad to turn people away, but so many people were just willing, so many people were just ready, willing, and able to jump in, and they wanted to help their community. And so that's something that's really, really beautiful. And I do think that the volunteer spirit is still alive and well today in the Middle Tennessee area. So if you were thinking about making a move to the Middle Tennessee area and you've got questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. All of my contact information is below. If you're ready to start that conversation, I actually have a link down below where you can go ahead and just book a direct Zoom call with me, and you can answer and you can ask me any and all questions that you have. Even if you're in the beginning stages of the process, I'm more than happy to provide my expertise and just talk to you to see if the Middle Tennessee area is a fit for you and what you're looking for you and your family. Now, if you're not ready to start that conversation, that's okay too. I have a free Nashville relocation guide down below. Just go ahead and click it and you're gonna be able to download it. Again, my name is Caitlin Martin. I'll see you next time.